يا ربي يا ربي يا ربي يا الله يا الله يا الله يا ربي يا ربي يا ربي يا الله يا الله يا الله يا
Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to Guiders TV. I am a guest host. This is my first time on Guiders TV. I'm very happy, thrilled, and I consider it a great privilege to be with Sheikh Eustace on his TV. Today we are going to talk about the significance of Guiders TV as a channel that has informed, educated, and enlightened Muslims worldwide about their deen, about their faith, about the message of Islam. And we are also going to discuss to what extent the state of Delaware needs Guiders TV and what Guiders TV can bring to the state of Delaware. So I have with me here Sheikh Eustace.
Assalamu alaikum
Salam.
warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
And I also have with me Dr. Naveed Bakhar, who is from Delaware, and he's going to try and make the case that Delaware will definitely benefit from Guiders TV. So Sheikh, before we go forward, there was a question that I always wanted to ask you. Do you think of yourself as a Muslim televangelist?
Wait a minute. Alhamdulillah. I don't even know that I was much of a Christian evangelist, much less in Islam. But I do consider that we should be using every mode possible to get the message of one God of Islam to the people.
Well, in that sense that you're using modern available technologies for doing dawah, that is the purpose. But why this medium? Why this medium? How is this medium different from the traditional mediums in which we did dawah, which was face-to-face, one-on-one?
One of the things that I like is the legitimacy. Whenever you have something, a television station, it's a lot more than when you say you have a Facebook page, for instance. But we do have as many people on the Facebook pages maybe as we do for some of our programs. And that's also true in the Twitter and some of the other social media that's out there. You were familiar with me a little earlier playing around with that Snapchat thing that we have. And you also know about LinkedIn and some of the other areas of explanation and talking about what our personal lives are, what we're doing, what we're all about. That's a sharing kind of an idea. The television, on the other hand, gives an air of authority. It has a position in people's minds as well as in their homes that this is something a little bit bigger, a little bit more serious. And so that is one of the premises for bringing it to the television level. Then after that, you have what method of television we're going to use. There is television on the internet. We've had that for years. But in addition to that, to have a satellite, that's something pretty big. Our particular satellite, Galaxy 19, covers all of Canada, all of the United States, even parts of the Caribbean and out to Bermuda. So we have the ability, we won't say we have every single home obviously, but we have the ability to reach any home, of course, that has the receiver to catch the dish to catch the satellite. After that, the apps are really a very important part of what we're doing. Now you're coming back closer to the internet kind of concept. When you have your phone in your hand, you can do a lot of things with these modern phones. One of them is that you can text message. You can send a link that somebody could click and then see what's going on. Or instead of trying to use that, it could use the app, the application that we have, lets you actually watch Guiders TV right on your phone, as well as see our other areas of interest such as the Islam Newsroom, Islam Events. These are websites that we've had for years, but now they're available in app form and you can use it that way. But when you're talking about this, you're not really getting the essence of having that TV in your home, that 60-inch screen that's there real big, and then seeing some high-definition stuff.
So clearly, there are people who make the argument that the medium is the message itself. So in that sense, for example, if the advantage that you're getting it by using the television technology is perhaps the size of the screen, and maybe also this perception of gravitas, that this is something, a much more serious enterprise than anyone having a Facebook page and uploading
It's far
homemade
more
videos.
costly, there's no doubt about that.
Yeah. So, but what what additional, shall we say, what does it add to the content of your message itself?
I don't know that we could say that it adds anything more than what we might be able to achieve with a website or the Facebook and things like that, except there's a consistency that's expected there. But there is something, and this is one of the things that we're really focusing on. It's an outreach in a place where the other things can't go. We have become #1 in the prisons across America for the Muslim inmates. And many of the prisons are open and even happy to have our channel broadcasting there. For #1, it calms down the prisoners. They don't feel like they're cut off so bad from their faith. And we're able to talk to them in levels that they can understand. Because one of the formats of our programs is that we don't want to take anything higher than about a 6th or 7th grade education. The reason for that is because we keep in mind that a lot of our followers, our viewers, are second language English.
Okay.
And the other thing is that a lot of our youth are watching, and we want to reach them. You, as a professor in a university, could still understand it. It's real simple English.
If I try hard.
You'd have to give a little.
Yeah.
But at the same time, anybody else watching it will get the same message. 6-year-old children, 5-year-old children come up to me all the time and say, I like this show that you had. I really enjoyed the stories of the prophets. And they liked the story about the one who came to Islam and the big 30,000 crowd. Many of the things that they talk about. Now, we know we're reaching them. There's another issue, too, that when you're talking with government agencies, they appreciate what we're doing and they watch it themselves to see, what are they saying? And then they come away, that was pretty good. I've had FBI agents even tell me that I need to spread my effort into more of the masajid, the mosque here in America. And I told my wife, I said, if the FBI likes it, maybe I'm doing something wrong. But seriously, I want to come back to the idea that all of us have different ways of looking at information that comes to us. We know that there are certain limits. We know that there are certain rights, but how we perceive those. And if it comes to us through television, this media that we're on right now, if this is the way and people say, I saw it on TV, must be correct. There's another area too, we mentioned about the prisons. Hospitals also will show our free-to-air programs because we're on antennas in these different areas along with the satellite. What happens is somebody that's a patient is laying there on the bed for 24 hours a day, they get tired of the commercials, infomercials and things, they start popping this. And when they do, they wind up in a place they never would have gone by choice. They would have never said, let me go look up Islam today. But all of a sudden it's on the screen and they go, hey, what's this all about? And a bishop from the Christian church came to Islam exactly this way. We recently had a theologian from the Catholic Church come to Islam, all in the same year. We've had a number of pastors, clerics from other religions come to Islam, or at least encourage us to keep it going. They like it, and they're showing it to their parishioners and to their congregations.
Well, clearly your message is very powerful, and that's why it's popular. There are millions of viewers and followers worldwide. I want to ask a question, Professor Barker, and what is the appeal of Guidance TV to you?
I think it is one of those rare mediums that have the ability to create a new generation of Muslims who will not have fear of media, who will not be fearful if a camera is put in front of them. They would be able to speak their minds and would be able to convey the message and their heartfelt feelings to the masses. Right now, the situation is that you put a camera in front of a Muslim community member and there is hesitation because we don't know how to speak, so if our children have a model that, okay, this is how these things are done, I think we are not just serving the current generation, we are serving the future generation.
But how does watching TV give them that much empowerment? I mean, they watch TV all the time anyway. The average screen time these days that the kids have, given their iPads and iPhones is about 9 hours a day, apparently.
Oh my God.
9 hours a day, kids are staring at screens of some kind or the
I
other.
didn't know that.
Yeah, it's 9 hours a day.
And that presents a challenge. That presents a challenge that that as a Muslim community, you know, one of our responsibilities is to also teach our children the Deen. Now, how do we do that? You know,
Well, before that, let's take a quick break, and then I'll come back and we'll continue with the conference. Thank you. Welcome back to Guidance TV. I'm Muqtadar Khan. I'm a professor at the University of Delaware, and today I'm talking to Sheikh Yusuf Yustis and to Dr. Naveed Bakr. Please continue.
So the challenge comes in when children actually have time to spend 8 to 9 hours on a screen without any thought being put into what kind of things they are watching. So as parents, as elders, it is our responsibility that we do provide them with an alternative to spend those 8 or 9 hours where they can learn their deen. And when they grow up, they understand the stories that we were told, you know, and unfortunately we don't have that type of environment today where elders would sit down and tell those stories, and you know, these screens are that medium. So presence in that medium is necessary, and Guidance TV is providing that service to the community and reaching out to millions of Muslims across the US through its satellite and through its terrestrial network.
Sheikh, I'm hearing a lot of tall claims about the transformative impact of TV. Could you give us an example or perhaps share an experience to tell us of what kind of impact this TV has?
Well, as I mentioned already, the fact that we reach into the prisons, we've had a number of the prisoners write to us and say they came to Islam, or they got back into Islam, asking us to mail out some of our free Qurans and the pamphlets and things that we send out. And this is very well appreciated and well received. Additionally, in the hospitals, we've seen a large number of people get a much closer and better look at what's real Islam. According to the bishop that came to Islam, that was his big thing, was seeing this on the internet and the TV. But I think more specifically was when we first opened up our hotline. When you have the 800 number on the screen, people can call in and talk. The very first person who called in was a lady in Austin, Texas, and she said, I want to make Shahada. And I said, how do you know what Shahada is? She said that she had been watching since we started. They bought a receiver, a dish, and they were going through it, just like I was explaining a little earlier, with the click, click, click on the remote, and boom, there it was, and she watched it, and watched it, and watched it. And it was about 3 months of watching this, and she said if there was any way, and then all of a sudden she sees the 800 number, she called in, she wants to enter Islam. She had never met a Muslim, had no connection with the Muslims. She entered Islam on television. Now when I went there for Ramadan to that same place, lady came up to me wearing hijab, Assalamu alaikum wa alaikum salam. I said, this voice sounds familiar, you know? And this Candace, who had become Maryam, has another lady with her. She has her daughter with her. She's bringing people to give Shahada to. Everybody in her family made Shahada over a period of time watching the Guidance TV. And I think that's a very good example of the impact that we have across America.
Well, as a professor who studies the impact of sometimes of media, etc., tell me why we are going backwards, it seems to me, in technology, because the world seems to be going more towards internet. I have a big TV at home which I haven't turned on in 2 years. I watch a lot of TV, but it's all on my desktop, on my laptop, so mostly internet-based. Even the debates, presidential debates now, we are watching on our computers. And with the rise of YouTube, for example, now there are lots of shuyukh on the internet who have their own channels that they are running with thousands and thousands of subscribers. It seems that we are going back to slightly older technology, and it may require people to retool themselves in order to. So if we were to introduce Guidance TV in Delaware, will we have to change people's watching habits, maybe even change their technological setup at home before they can actually enjoy the benefits of Guidance TV?
What you've described actually is the problem. a lot of our teachers and professors who have a lot to offer, like yourself, are compartmentalizing themselves by having these places on the internet but not reaching out. How many people would really be looking for you by name and they're not even a Muslim? No. They wouldn't be looking for me by name either. But what happens when there's a way that they feel more comfortable with? The television. Oh, let me go over there, boom. And this is why it's had such an impact. There is no other Muslim channel in America, originating in America, broadcasting 24 hours a day, no commercials, no advertising, no subscription charges. It's totally free and free of ads. This means anytime people go there, they're going to see something positive about the way of life of Muslims.
It's like saying you have found a way of cold calling.
It works.
It works. So let's talk about Delaware to an extent. So what do you think Guidance TV would do for Delaware?
So let me actually go back and answer your question about going back to a technology. And I agree with you that a terrestrial TV network would be an older generation of technology. However, technology is actually like fashion. If you see, a lot of time fashion comes back, and even in technology, we see something that has happened, the ideas may have existed or rudimentary format may have existed, but they came back in a better format. So it is clear that right now cable TV and satellite TV, a lot of people watch it. However, it is also clear that the prices, the rates are rising. And those, I do not see them coming down, I see them going up because more people are shifting towards internet-based technologies. And as they move, the revenue for cable and satellite will go down, and to maintain their operations, they're going to have to raise more subscription charges, and as they continue to do that, they'll price themselves out of the market. So now how do we compete with internet? Now, internet does not have any controlled environment where you can control what is being displayed. Can you be sure that, you know, if there is a content on internet that you do not approve of, that your children are not going to watch it, especially if they're small children? So there could be propaganda videos from ISIS, for example. There could be videos from other groups. So this terrestrial network allows that control of what is being put out. Now, I also see that there is huge cost attached to it. So let's say if it costs $20,000 to put up one antenna, you know, it can sound a lot. However, if we look at the benefits, that Delaware sits in the middle between Philadelphia, Baltimore, and Philadelphia alone has 200,000 Muslims. So the reach to that community is huge. Now, for them, in terms of retooling themselves, all it needs is an antenna. And in terms of antenna sales, if you look at the figures, if you look at the numbers in the US, the numbers are on the rise exponentially. And this comes to me as a surprise as well, because there are a number of case studies, and I just read a case study in Texas, a young man opening an antenna shop, hoping that he might be able to sell 100 or 200 antennas a month. He's now selling 27,000 antennas in a month. So where are those antennas?
What programming is driving that?
That is an interesting question, and I do not know what is driving it. However, and that is the point, that we need to go back and further investigate this, so that we have, so there are indicators, there are these feelers that there is value in it. Now, have we figured it out? Have we worked out all the kinks? No, we are still in that process, and I'm hoping that once we are done through this process, we would have a model. You know, it is possible that we may decide, because Guidance TV is already in Delaware. You know, it is available through satellite. It is available through internet. Satellite has a problem that you know, you need a very expensive pieces of equipment. Internet has a problem that on smaller devices, you know, for example, on phone, there is that data cap. You know, people don't watch it. Internet, the infrastructure for Guidus TV is not at a level, where it is available seamless. The best connectivity is through the app. Where there are no
Bandwidth will make a lot of difference.
That's right. So
Yeah.
so those bandwidth issues, the cost issues, those exist. So, and I think considering the whole impact that fashion trends, putting up, having a control over what kind of content is going on, where we can feel confident that our children, our youth can watch it without having any side effects in terms of getting radicalized or those, because those are real concerns. So I do see a lot of value, and I hope that once we are through the practice of developing a business plan, how this is actually going to be done, that it will benefit hundreds and hundreds of thousands of people in the region.
Well,
The antenna is the subject here because this is the only difference. We have already got the same thing here that we have around the world. We have the internet, we have the apps, that's everywhere. The fact that we're also covered by the satellite doesn't mean everybody can access it because of the cost, as you said. The antenna itself is a different subject. You have a big population here. What is the income status of the average person? If it's lower than the mean across the whole country, then you have to consider that the free antenna is the best way to go. Because free to air means literally that. The only cost they have is $5 at Radio Shack. Plug that little antenna in the back of their television where a cable would go, and they're watching Guidus TV.
Well, there are different issues here. For example, one of the attraction to you with this medium is that it allows you to go into homes where otherwise there would have been no opportunity to go. But listening to Dr. Bakar, for him, I think he sees this as a control mechanism of controlling what our children are exposed to.
Yeah, but see, you're talking about the Muslim side.
The Muslim side of it.
This is what I'm saying. We want to get further out here. This is what's been lacking.
Yeah, because the free antennas.
The public is relying on the media, and they're relying on a few other people to tell them what to say. By getting the message out to the non-Muslim public, this is what you want to do. Mm-hmm. So this is what's needed around the world.
So the free antennas you would distribute to everybody, not to Muslims.
As soon as you put the antenna up, anybody in a 30-mile range can watch it, just like that, free.
Oh, okay.
And there is another added advantage to it, that that once you have that antenna, so I can understand that getting that antenna in the door could be a challenge, but if we cross that hurdle, then we know there is no competition.
No, that's a good point.
Right? There is no competition. It's just if somebody wants to watch Islamic channel, it is this channel. So,
well, I think it was a very interesting conversation, and I think we need to explore this exciting idea, and I hope that people in Delaware can also benefit from the messages and wonderful programming that Guidus TV is providing. So thank you very much for being with us, both of you, and I hope something positive comes out of this interaction.
And we all get guided with
Guidus TV. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Definitely.
يا ربي يا ربي يا ربي يا الله يا الله يا الله يا ربي يا ربي يا ربي يا الله يا الله يا الله يا.
Stay tuned for Guide US TV's interview with the 50 Mosque Man.
يا ربي يا ربي يا ربي يا الله يا الله يا الله يا ربي يا ربي يا ربي يا الله يا الله يا الله.
Assalamu alaikum, Jamil, and congratulations on your great trip. But now it's time for a little serious conversation on what you visited, what you saw. So you traveled all around the country, went all over the 50 states, visited mosques in each state, and so you are probably the only eyewitness to masajid in America.
Yeah, I was fortunate to visit many, many institutions and literally
thousands of people within the span of 35 days. Very fortunate.
The nature of the American Muslim community is such that institutionally it's very impoverished in the sense that we have very few institutions other than the mosques. So wherever there is a Muslim community, you have a masjid, a halal meat store, and then maybe an Islamic school. So given the fact that the mosque is such a fundamental element of Muslim communities in the US, the mosque is a kind of a mirror of the Muslim community there. So tell us, what kind of Muslim communities do you think these mosques are producing?
Well, I mean, you said it most eloquently, that we are very much within the infancy of establishing our institutions. And I had mentioned this in many of my speeches, that we had been here for a very long time, but in different phases with different agendas. So predating Columbus, and then the enslaved Africans, the civil rights movement, more recently the immigrants, and they are the ones who are pretty much credited and charged with building these institutions. Although they're limited, they're still within the infancy of their development. And so when we talk about what type of communities that they're producing communities, that actually are attracting people to them only and simply because it is the house of God. So when someone comes into a community, they are obviously going to attach themselves and affiliate themselves with the masajids first and foremost. But we're way, way behind with regards to organizational development. For instance, right now, it's still unclear with regards to what is the role of the imam, right? He's wearing 50 different hats. He's a marriage counselor, he's the clergyman, he's the funeral director, so forth and so on. A lot of the people who sit on the boards are people who are not paid people to be on boards and not necessarily qualified according to position. For instance, the treasurer may not have a background in finance. A lot of these places still don't have executive directors with qualified MBAs, right? So because of that, you've got a lot of people who are doing things based upon their own intellectual capacity, or maybe they're bringing baggage from their old countries back here. And because of that, the development, I think, is stunted to a certain degree. And what happens as a result, of this, if you want to call it inertia and red tape, this exclusivity, not because they mean to be this way, is that there are those people who come and they pray. And that's all their involvement is. Then you have those type of individuals who do want to make a stake as far as leadership is concerned within these organizations. And then those people who try to get in, but then they get blocked, and then essentially they're on the fringes.
Yes, I mean, the mosques do start as, I like to think of them as necessary service providers. That's
Right.
how they begin, by providing necessary service. But given the fact that they also become the central hub of the communities, it becomes, I think, their responsibility in shaping the character of the community. For example, one of the issues that is now constantly raised by mainstream media as well as Muslims themselves is about the spatial politics associated with gender.
Right.
So what are the patterns that you saw of women's participation spatially in the masajid?
So let's take that question and basically couple that with the question before, right? Those type of masajid and mosques that actually are running efficiently are those where the leadership predominantly understand and has integrated itself with society. They don't see it as us and them scenario, right? So who are these people? What are the characteristics of these types of people? African American community is a big part of this, right? And then you have those communities where the turnover has come in, where the elders have passed on the baton to their children who are born and raised over here, who understand and are assimilated with society. So those individuals not only are creating organizational plans which are effective, but they also understand the necessity of bringing the women into this space, empowering them, making sure that they have all the necessary resources to have a voice, and make sure that they are putting their input into all the different activities and future planning that's taking place within that masjid. Everyone else, you see that there's a spectrum, unfortunately. There's still a lot of people that don't believe that women should be coming to the masjid, that it is not necessary for them to come, that it is not even something that they should even consider part of their daily activities and their routines. You have that end of the spectrum, and then you have the other end of the spectrum I visited where, you have presidents of masajids, you have chairpersons, that are female.
I get invited often to speak in churches and synagogues. But now I have made a rule, it's It's a humorous rule, but I insist that at least 1/3 of the audience should be less than 30 or 40 years old. Otherwise, I'm very unhappy about going and speaking to really old people. In churches, we see a lot of young people. But when you went to these mosques, did you see to what extent were the youth involved in activities of the mosque, in planning, in programming, other than attending the Friday prayers, or if they are too young to resist their parents bringing them to Sunday school? And besides that, do you see them actively involved in the life, the spiritual life of the masajid?
And it comes back to the culture of that masjid and the tone that the leadership sets from the beginning, right? If they understand their role as individuals who are trying to establish something and they have to apprentice people underneath them to take over and you prep them, then yes, you see a lot of leaders nowadays who are young people in their 30s and their 40s, born and raised over here, whatever the case may be, because that's what the leadership has prepped them to be. But unfortunately, these people are the minority. And the reason being is because most of the time when people come and they build something with their hands or they give their resources, they consider themselves to be shareholders or even stakeholders in some cases, right? There's a sense of ownership over there. So that's one part of the mentality. The other mentality is that they want to give the seat over, but they don't trust themselves enough, neither do they trust the other people. So when that happens, you have these people who are holding on for dear life to their chairs, right? And when they realize that they cannot physically move forward anymore, then they want to pass on the baton. Guess what? Those people, the younger children, or who were the children at that point, the next generation, don't want to have anything to do with it. Why? Because you have excluded them. They have tried, and you have excluded them, so now they're too busy building their own lives. They're young professionals, they're trying to build a family, pay off their mortgage, save up for college education, and they have other things to do. So unfortunately, this is happening more often, than the latter that I had just described to you.
Thank you very much, Jamil. It was very enlightening listening to you.
Thank you.
He's not just a 50 mosque man, but I think he is also a witness to Islam in America. Thank you.
Thank you kindly for having me.
يا ربي يا ربي يا الله يا الله يا الله يا